We are deployed on Operation Reassurance Roto 10 in the Mediterranean. So as a coxswain on board the ship, I like to think that when we have our different systems on board, we have our weapon systems, and our computer systems, and our fuel systems. We also have our people system, or our human system. And as a coxswain, I like to think that I manage that and I co-manage that with the rest of the command team to make sure that all our people are as fit and capable as they can be, and mentally, socially, in order to be that effective team that we need on board Toronto. Going into the deployment, we've had a very busy program, and we really had to watch the crew, and I really had to pay attention to their needs and to what they, to how they were when it came to the work and the workload to prepare a warship. It was finally once we got off the wall and started sailing that everybody sort of got into that period of breath where they could say, okay, now we can do the business. Yes, the business is getting the ship ready, but it's also the business of being at sea for our overall effectiveness. And it's I think with a very big sense of pride, actually, I can say that with our crew, they've gone from being very frustrated alongside to working to get the ship prepared to deploy, to now actually seeing how they've come together. And it's for me, a very proud moment to see that when they're just a very fine working machine. So we're very diverse, right? So when you look at the ship as a system and as an overall system and who needs to run that system. So yes, we have our naval communication operators that have to do all the IT and audio and visual communications. You have your engineers, your marine technicians, you have your cooks. The most, I think, the heartbeat of the ship now, especially as a coxswain, is to see the hard work that our cooks do in order to feed us. And you know, a happy ship is a well-fed ship. And I think with the cooks that we have on board, I think it's the best fed I've ever been, actually. So some really good advice that I received when I just started taking over as my role as coxswain is from a very good friend of mine who's also had been a coxswain, is that you say hi to everybody every day and that you make sure that you smile at everybody every day. At the end of the day, if I'm having a bad day, it gets reflected, and I know that if somebody sees me in the flats and says, oh, the coxswain, she doesn't look happy about something, then I know that they're going to think that something's not right. And so I'm very aware that how I present myself to others is how they could then perceive how things are going. So it's very important that, you know, I go around, I see as much as the crew as I can a day, and I go to the MCR, to the engineering spaces, and I go to the operations room, and I go to the bridge. And I make sure I do that every day. I see the cooks because they need to see the leadership, because that's a part of deck plate leadership. You're the go-between with command and the NCMs and also the officers, because you're everybody's coxswain. You're not just the NCM coxswain, you're the officer's coxswain, you're the air department's coxswains, you're everybody's coxswain. And you have to be able to manage with your leadership the nuances between the different departments to make sure it all works, so that they know that at any given point in time they can come to my office and sit down and have a conversation with me, and we could talk about work, we could talk about leadership. We talk about leadership a lot, just different philosophies and ways of being. My door is always open. And it lets the crew know that I'm also a human being in our role as leaders, and that they can be that way too, and that the position although you're a position of authority, it doesn't have to be scary, and that you're able to talk and have conversations with people. I'm beyond happy with the performance, actually, and I get surprised every day. And you come to realize just how well trained and educated our military personnel are overall. So we've gone from a very intense working up to a high readiness program to deploying. But as soon as we were at sea and we were able to do the business at sea, everything came together quite nicely for us to be able to successfully complete a missile exercise.
Action stations, action stations.
even after having some instances where we had to do some real life emergencies that we were very capable in succeeding and overcoming, so that we could fire off our missiles and then continue on with our program. Operationally, it's been every challenge that we've come across, we've attacked it and then we've overcome it.